Support for Sportspage is provided by the University Store. The University Store is the official headquarters for Mules and Jennies emblem clothing, gifts, and UCN memorabilia. Books, office supplies, art supplies, and more are available at the University Store, located on the lower level of the Elliott Union on the UCM campus in Warrensburg. And promotional support for Sportspage is provided by 1450 KOKO and 98.5 The Bar. 1450 KOKO and 98.5 The Bar, the radio home of University of Central Missouri Athletics.
Coming up on this edition of Sports Page, we're talking football and soccer with Mules and Jennies head coaches right here in our studio. Both teams picked up key victories last week, and we'll hear straight from the coaches on how they helped their teams out. In our Sports Page spotlights, we'll meet football senior defensive back Connor Smith. We'll also check in with Jennies soccer junior Julie Ireland. All of that and more on this week's edition of the University of Central Missouri Sports Page. Thanks for joining us here on Sports Page here on KMOS-TV. I'm Alex Greenlee. Week 6 of the 2014 football season brought UCM back to its home turf for a game against Washburn. These two teams hadn't played each other since 2011, but now that it's an all-MIAA schedule for everyone, we'll be seeing a lot more of the Ichabods. Brianna Blocker was at Saturday's game and has a full report for us now.
I'm Brianna Blocker, and I'm here at the Walton Stadium, Kennedy Field, where the Central Missouri Mules face off the Washburn Ichabods. Let's take a look at those highlights.
Please welcome your 2014 University of Central Missouri Mules.
The Central Missouri Mules spewed for 31 second-half points to pull away from Washburn in a 44-0 rout at Walton Stadium, Kennedy Field on Saturday afternoon. It's the second shutout in the last 2 years since last November against Nebraska-Kearney. It was a rough start for the Mules and Ichabods, both teams attempting to gain an advantage. After an empty drive for each team to start the game, Washburn took over and drove to the UCM 20. Washburn came on to attempt a 37-yard field goal, but Ramon Hunter blocked it and the Mules took over at their own 20. A screen to receiver Tristan McCullen took the Mules down to the red zone to capitalize on a field goal, giving the Mules a 3-0 lead. An interception by Connor Smith gives the Mules great field position to start their offensive series.
Interception by number 11, Connor Smith.
Hayden Hawk capped the drive with a 6-yard touchdown, giving the Mules a 10-0 lead. A 3-and-out on the Ichabods' next possession, and Will Mondragon drilled a 31-yard field goal to give Central Missouri a 13-0 lead at halftime. The Mules came out quick on the opening drive, using their explosive run game to drive upfield, allowing Hayden Hawk to score a 2-yard touchdown, his second of the day.
Take advantage of the discount following today's game.
With another defensive stop, the offense regained the ball after driving 23 yards on 7 plays. Mondragon was in range for his third field goal of the day, this one from 28 yards out.
Field goal is good. The body shot. Warrensburg.
The Mules scored on Hawk's third rushing touchdown of the day to lead 30-0. He rushed untouched up the middle for a 16-yard score.
Number 5, I need Mike.
The third interception of the day, this one by Travion Vaughn, returning it for a Mules touchdown.
You will receive 5% off UCM.
Ray Harris caps off the shutout win with his 23-yard run, making the final score 44-0. This is the second shutout of the Jim Svoboda era. The Mules have now won 5 of the 6 meetings against Washburn. I'm here with number 6 quarterback Hayden Hawk. How does it feel doing the unexpected, scoring 3 touchdowns for the team today?
Yeah, it was a little unexpected. I don't think if you told me that at the beginning of the day, I would have believed you, but we'll take scores any way we can.
So almost 3 years ago, you guys beat Washburn. What was your strategy for today's game?
Yep, coming in the game, we haven't really played Washburn in 3 years, like you said, so we don't kind of have that familiarity with maybe other teams that we have. But schematically, they kind of run what other teams do in the league, so we weren't really surprised by what they brought to us.
The team's momentum was high for the most part of the game. What kept up your energy?
Probably just the defensive play. Anytime you get a shutout in the MLAA, that's a big deal. It kind of limited the rest, maybe their defensive guys were able to have, so we were able to keep the momentum pretty good.
And what are your reflections of today's game?
It was good to get a shutout win.
I'm Brianna Blocker reporting for Sportspage.
As you can see there, Central Missouri with the blowout win, 44-0 over Washburn. Hawk was 18 of 32 with 1 pick, passing for 194 yards. Hawk rushed 61 yards for 3 TDs. Sam Smith, 9 tackles, and Chase Bollinger with 8 tackles. The Mules are now 4-2 on the season, 4-2 in MIAA play. And joining us now in studio is head coach Jim Svoboda. Coach, let's get right down to it. The Mules had a great game overall. With the big win, obviously. The first momentum shift was a fun one. Ramon Hunter blocked Washburn's first field goal attempt. How much did that help get your team going?
Well, those are always big plays. Special teams plays are big momentum changers. That, you know, they had an opportunity to score there. It was an early drive for them, and to keep them off the board and get the ball back was big. And our special teams have been a strength for us all year long, and it just seems like it's been a different guy each week that's had a real big play that has changed the momentum. So that was a key play in the game.
And so your team gets on the bird first with that Mondragon field goal, and then moving to the second quarter, Connor Smith snags an interception. 2 plays later, your quarterback runs in for the score, really using his feet in this game. Was this interception another good mood shift for your team?
Always. You know, our defense has done a good job versus the past this year, and we actually have a lot of takeaways in terms of interceptions. And the thing that was most pleasing, though, is now when we got the interception, we took advantage of it and got points out of the deal, and that's something that we hadn't always done in the early part of the season. So it's great to get a takeaway, but it's also great to turn that into a score, because that's kind of a double whammy for the team you're playing. You know, they feel bad about giving up a turnover, and then when you take advantage of it in terms of making it, you know, touchdown or a field goal, then I think it does a lot for your momentum.
And Coach, points are points, and so Mondragon kicks another field goal, takes your team to the locker room with a 13-0 lead at half, which is good. Not a blowout yet, but we're getting to that point. And then the opening drive in the third quarter, you guys just march down the field and get another touchdown from Hawk on the ground. And the scores in this game, how much of him was it making good defense reads?
Well, you know, that's one thing that's overlooked a little bit in terms of quarterback plays. He has to make a lot of decisions in the run game as well, and Washburn decided that they were going to blitz us a lot. You know, we had an inkling that they might. They hadn't been a big blitz team for the most part all year, but I think the offensive line and Coach McClung did a tremendous job of adjusting to that, and part of that was, you know, Hayden making good decisions versus the blitz, and he took advantage of it in terms of 3 rushing touchdowns, which probably hasn't happened maybe ever here at Central as far as a quarterback.
And of course, this one ended up being a shutout. Your defense had a great game, 3 interceptions, a sack, and 6 tackles for a loss. What would you say was the biggest factor for this shutdown of this Washburn offense?
Well, just how the defense played, obviously, taking the ball away, and they just really couldn't get any momentum going. They didn't have any consistency, and when you can, you know, when you can upset the rhythm of the offensive team, I think it's a real advantage defensively, and they were able to do that. Anytime they got a little momentum going, they were able to get them off the field and make them punt, and then we started to take advantage of those opportunities on offense as well.
And the Mules ran away with this game, winning 44-0 in a monstrous blowout. And up until the last 2 scores, every score had come from either Hayden Hawk or Mondragon. But when you look at the stats, look at the plays you ran, you really spread the ball out on offense with 9 receivers and 9 receivers on the offensive side. Do you feel you're getting more of a balanced team here and balance from this offense?
Well, we have way more balance than we've ever had offensively here in terms of run and pass. And then we've always spread the ball around a lot. We get a lot of players involved. I think it's it's good to get a lot of guys involved in terms of the morale. They know that they could be the guy at any play, and we keep guys fresh by playing a lot of guys, and so that's the beauty of what we do, and the beauty of the type of kids that we have, that nobody cares who gets the credit. They just want to score points and win the football game, and so you're always sort of on standby when you're on offense playing for us, because that could be your turn. So it just depends on what the defense is giving you and how we take advantage of it. And I think our receivers have really done a great job all year. We're really catching the ball well, and getting good yards after the catch as well. And so we're coming along. Early in the game, we would have liked to have had more touchdowns and field goals, but at the same time, we're getting points on the board, and that's the key.
When you talk about the selflessness of this team, what have you noticed so far this season about everybody just wanting to get involved and help, and they don't care who does get involved?
Well, it's really just been the theme. I think it stems from the leadership that we have on the team. That's how they present themselves. We really don't have any ego guys. Even guys we've had that have been players of the week, or guys that have the stats, or been sort of in the highlights as far as individual performances. We really don't focus on that. The kids don't focus on it, and that's what has really made us strong as a team down the stretch when the chips are down.
And everybody contributed to this win, like we just talked about, Coach. Let's talk about Sam Smith and his first collegiate start with 9 tackles.
Yeah, and him and Chase Bollinger really stepped up big, because we were a couple guys short in that linebacking core. Austin Miller did a great job as well, and that was really pleasing, because that was Washburn was a team that had been a little bit up and down, but they also had a couple of explosive games offensively. So we knew they had some weapons out there, and so for those kids to in their first major action come in and do what they did at that spot, those linebackers are kind of the core of your defense there, really says a lot about their preparation and Coach Jeter getting them ready to play. That was pretty cool to see, really.
I think it was too, Coach. And I want to talk about Connor Smith now. We're going to spotlight him later in the show, the senior. What can you tell us about his improvement so far this season? Obviously got that pick for 18 yards against Washburn.
Well, Connor's just a grinder. I mean, he's a kid that's from day one has been one of our hardest workers. He's a tremendous guy in the weight room. Has really done probably more or as much as any kid we've had in terms of improving his physical tools, works hard, watches extra film, and so he's just a real good example of a guy that really maximizes his talent by working hard and spending extra time in terms of being a student of the game.
Switching gears a little bit to your defense, who's really stepped up on this defense? I mean, Connor obviously did and Bollinger did, but who else maybe that doesn't, the stat sheet doesn't show?
Well, I think the D-line is always kind of the unsung guys. Right. You hear about them when they get a sack, but other than that, they're just kind of in there battling away, every play, and it's full contact for those guys every play. And so I think Russ Allen and Ramon Hunter have done a great job inside. Josh Powell at the defensive end spot has really done a great job. So it really starts there. You can really, anytime you have a great defensive effort, whether you're getting interceptions or making a lot of tackles at the linebacker spot, your D-line's probably playing pretty good.
Well, and you guys got 3 picks in this game, and you talk about takeaways. How effective was that for this team to get 3 picks?
Well, the turnover margin is probably the most relevant stat in football, and so that's really the one we talk about the most. As a team, it's something that both sides can contribute to, offensively taking care of the football, defensively taking the ball away. And so not very many teams that have been negative in the turnover margin have had a good record, and that's across the board. So that's one thing we do talk about, and so far we've done a good job with it, and we're getting better.
Moving along, the Mules have Central Oklahoma up next, 5-1 team. They're coming to town for homecoming weekend, and Central Oklahoma battled it out last week with Missouri Southern. Had a good game there and ended up winning in triple overtime. The game's going to be at 1:30 at Walton Stadium, Kennedy Field. What are you guys expecting on Saturday coming into this Berg homecoming weekend?
Well, there's a lot of similarities between the teams, actually. They're a team that clearly is on a roll in terms of their last couple of games, as we are. And we have a very common schedule. In fact, there's only two teams that are different on our schedule. So, we played similar opponents, similar schedules, and so forth, and similar results, actually. And so we know that they're, a young team that's feeling good about themselves right now, and a team that's sort of climbed their way to where they're at right now. And they have a nice scheme on offense. They got a quarterback that's really mobile, and he's a guy that you have to contain. They got some pretty good skill kids around them. Their experience is on the offensive line, which I think is an advantage for them. Defensively, they return a few guys. Scheme-wise, they're a little bit different than they were last year in that they blitzed a lot last year. This year, they seem to be more make the offense drive the ball and be consistent sort of mentality, and so they've been real steady on defense as well, and taking the ball away well.
Central Oklahoma is currently 5-1 in the season. That puts them tied for second in the MIAA as of right now of this taping. I know stats can be deceiving, and sometimes they don't show every single thing, especially the intangibles. But the Broncos only lead the conference in one category right now, Coach. Does that tell your team they're pretty much decent at everything, or is there something else?
I haven't really looked at the stats that closely, but I'm betting it's turnover margins what they're leading in, and that's the big one as we discussed. And so I think it says a lot about their team, that they're figuring out ways to win. They play together well. I think they're just fundamentally they're a real sound group, and so. Again, all those stats, you can kind of chuck them out the window and draw whatever conclusions you want to, but the bottom line is they're 5-1 and they're playing well.
Last question, Coach. Home field advantage, obviously, last week, the Ichabods, 44-0. You've got a home game on Saturday. How does playing here help this team? Obviously, everybody loves to play at home in the MIAA, but it's an all-MIAA schedule.
Well, I think we have the most special place to play. I think we get the biggest crowds typically, and our kids love it. It's a great venue. We're Warrensburg's team. We don't, there's no other show in town to divide the attention, and the community loves the Mules, and our kids feel that. They have a lot of gratitude for where they play and the importance of of sports in the community. And Central is just simply one of the best places to be a college athlete, and just with the atmosphere and the support. And we've gotten awards for such. All the sports are outstanding from top to bottom, and so it's just a good feeling for them to showcase what they have in front of these grateful fans that we have.
And I guess really the last question I have for you, I'm change it up a little bit. D-line versus offensive line on this team. We talk about matchups, and football is a game of matchups, as you already know. How well do you think your D-line is going to do against this offensive line?
Well, they've been playing well, so we expect the same out of them. That's an extremely hard-working group that we have there, led by our seniors, Ramon and Russ Allen inside. You watch those kids practice, and every drill they do, everything they do is very detailed and put extreme amount of effort into it. So I feel good about those guys. I know they're going to play hard. I know that our offensive line has been working hard as well, and seems to be improving each week.
Well, Coach, good luck against Central Oklahoma. I'm really glad to have you in studio. Up next, we're going to take a look at the spotlight of defensive back Connor Smith. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the UCM Sports Page here on KMOS-TV. Senior football player Connor Smith has started every game at defensive back for the Mules this season. He's got 44 tackles in the books right now, 20 of those unassisted, and 2 tackles are for a loss. The Rogersville, Missouri native returned 1 interception for 18 yards and also had a forced and recovered fumble. Let's meet senior Connor Smith.
I got started playing football probably back in about 4th grade. Come from a family of athletes. My dad played football up at Missouri Western State University, so that kind of introduced it to me, and I've been playing ever since, and I love it. I chose UCM. I came here up on a visit, talked to the coaches, met a lot of the former players, and instantly fell in love with it. The campus is great. The people and the faculty around here are awesome. That's really what made me decide to come here. This season up to this point, we've been playing pretty well. We had a tough loss our first game against Missouri Western, but we've been playing a lot better since. Defense has been playing well, and offense is finally starting to click. So we're just looking forward to the rest of the season and keep stacking up these wins. The shutout against Washburn, it was great for us defensively. You know, we wanted to start off strong and not let them put too many points on the board. Ramon Hunter had a huge block for us, a field goal block, and the defense started playing really well throughout the game. We were holding with 3 and outs, and we were getting turnovers. I think me and as well as 2 other defensive backs had interceptions, so we were just playing really well, and we would look forward to keep doing that. Some stuff I want to accomplish throughout the rest of the season. Just keep playing well, sound defensive football, continue to make plays when they're there, get turnovers, and just keep the enthusiasm up, because it's a long season and sometimes guys can get down in practice and, you know, not get as excited with enthusiasm as they should, and I just look to bring the energy up all the time. My relationship with Coach Svoboda is great. Came here on a visit, met him. Great guy, great coach. I love playing for him. He puts a lot of onus on us, you know, on away games. He's not, you know, we don't always have room checks. You know, he says, you know, it's on us to prepare and be ready for it, and that really excites us. He's a great players coach, and I just love playing for him. He's a great man. My position coach, which is Coach Westfall of the defensive backs, great coach, always pushing me to be better. Been watching a lot of film with him, just learning my technique and what I can do to be a better player on the field and be a better leader on the field as well. And he's just always there, has any questions, answers them, and just helps me out. And he's made me a better player for sure. My relationship with the other players on the defense is great. We basically have the same team we had from this past year. We lost a few guys, but just it's really close-knit. We're all buddies. We all hang out together. And so you can hold people responsible without them, you know, taking it the wrong way. You can call them out if they're slacking, or if you think they can pick up the tempo in practice and stuff. And that's what's really good. You can hold each other accountable, and no one gets, you know, offended when you do that, because they respect you because you've hung out with them and you're friends with them. Me and my friends and teammates, when we're hanging out outside of practice, we watch a lot of sports, a lot of football, baseball, basketball, and play a lot of video games too, some NBA 2K and FIFA and all that good stuff. Love going fishing. Haven't got to do much fishing this year, but that's something I also enjoy as well. So just really just kicking it, relaxing it, and a lot of times we're also just talking about the season too and what we can do to get better and stuff, but usually just hanging out and enjoying the time off. My major is exercise science. Right now I'm looking, still got to get an internship, and I'm looking to hopefully become a strength coach somewhere. I think I came in here at 175 pounds and I got up to 195. I took the weight room really serious. Coach Teeter pushed me really hard, and I was able to get all my numbers up, and I just love being a part of that and getting guys stronger and getting them ready for the football field. So that's something that I'm looking to do in my future.
Smith's interception was in the big win over Washburn this past week, that 18-yard interception, excuse me, and hopefully we'll see some more of that as the 2014 season continues. Up next, Jason Ketz has all the results from this past week. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Sports Page. I'm Jason Ketz. Let's take a look at results for this past week. Jennies volleyball traveled to Joplin to play Missouri Southern. This game was a bit of a nail-biter. The Jennies eventually won the match 3-2, but they had to play their hearts out in the final set. UCM won the first 2 sets, then Southern won 2. The 5th set is only to 15 points or whoever wins by 2. Final score of that set, 16-14 UCM. Carly Soika led Central with 26 kills, while Courtney Thompson had 53 assists. Jennies Golf traveled to Pana, Illinois for the University of Missouri St. Louis Triton Fall Invitational. After shooting an opening round 328, the Jennies finished the tournament in 3rd place with a final round score of 323 and 629 total. Taylor Intrican and Kelly Welker both placed inside the top 10 for UCM. After beating Missouri Southern the previous day, the Jennies volleyball team faced Central Oklahoma in Edmond. After splitting the first 4 sets with the Broncos went on a 4-0 run in set 5 that helped propel the home team to win the match 3-2. Carly Soika led all players on the court with 17 kills. Central Missouri's only losses in MIAA play are on both of the season on the road. The Jennies bowling team began its season this past weekend at the Newman Mid-State Invitational. Central Missouri went an impressive 13-0 on the weekend, but finished in 3rd place by total pins. Freshman Jordan Richard led the Jennies with an average score of 190.5. Jennifer Potts and Gabby Mayfield both averaged above 180. The Mules golf team hit the links this past week for the Missouri Western Classic in St. Joe. After only playing 9 holes during Monday's first round due to rain, the Mules won the tournament by being the only team to shoot under 300 strokes. Travis Mays and Sam Migdal tied for first place at 4 over par. Both the men's and women's cross-country teams competed in the Southwest Baptist Invitational on Tuesday. The Mules took home a 2nd place finish. Adam Treadway, Michael Gowlick, and Austin Gott all finished in the top 15. The Jennies finished 3rd overall. Megan Glayman finished with a time of 18 minutes 40 seconds, good enough for 3rd place overall. The 21st ranked Jennies volleyball team traveled to St. Charles to take on Lindenwood. The Jennies dominated all 3 sets to win the match. Carly Soika led the team with 16 kills and 12 digs, while Courtney Thompson had 35 assists. That's all for results from this past week. Let's turn to Jennies soccer now and head coach Lewis Theobald. Coach, last Friday you hosted Missouri Southern at the South Rec in Warrensburg. At halftime you were down 1-0. Coming into the game, Missouri Southern was 1-5 in MIAA play. What was your message to your team at the break?
At the break, we was kind of reiterating what we said at the beginning of the game. Missouri Southern had beat us last year, but we came out not with the same focus and intensity to execute that we had in previous games, and really just wanted to get them refocused. And in a sport like soccer where there's no timeouts, you really wait till halftime a lot of times to get a team refocused if they're not there. So it's a good learning lesson for our kids, and they responded pretty well. Well, and indeed they did respond very well, coming out with 4 straight goals in the second half. Michaela Modiri had 2 of those goals. Talk about her performance this year and how you feel she's progressed as the season's gone along. Yeah, Michaela's like a lot of other players in our program. When we recruited her, we thought she'd be an out-and-out forward, but we've moved her into the midfield line and used her attacking ability in a different way. And so she's had to learn a new position, but she's progressed really quickly. She's a pretty quiet kid, but she really is a good thinker of the game. So she's adjusted really well, and the fact that she's still scoring goals, to have as many as she have this early in her career is great, but we're expecting her to get better and better. And then on Sunday, you take on Southwest Baptist at home. This is a 1-2 matchup in the MIAA standings. We took a camera out there to the South Rec on Sunday. Sabre Hepner has more.
Here at UCM's South Recreational Field, where the number 10 ranked Jennies faced the Southwest Baptist Bearcats. The Jennies entered today's competition with an 8-game winning streak and extended it with a 2-0 victory. Let's take a look at the highlights. After a scoreless first half, the Jennies got on the board first with an own goal in the 49th minute. Megan Woolley crossed the ball near the goalie box, and when it deflected off an SBU defender, the Jennies had a 1-0 lead. UCM made it 2-0 in the 53rd minute. Sophomore Abby Rhodes found the back of the net from 10 yards out off an assist from Woolley. It was Rhodes' 2nd goal and Woolley's 2nd assist of the season. The win didn't come easy as SBU was on the attack all day. The Bearcats outshot UCM 23-11. That was the first time an opponent outshot the Jennies this year. But the Jennies defense was up to the challenge. Freshman goalkeeper Anna Dilks recorded a season-high 10 saves and lowered her goals against average to just .49. It was her 7th shutout of the season, which puts her in a tie for first in the MIAA. Of course, the goalkeeper must rely on stout defense, such as that played by Rhodes.
We're here with sophomore Abby Rhodes. Abby, how does it feel for your team to be riding a 9-game winning streak?
I'd have to say that it feels really good, actually. It's a lot of pressure, but it's positive pressure, and it really motivates the team to do good things. So.
Your team hasn't lost to SBU since 2007. So what was your mindset coming into today's competition?
Going into today's game, I think we all just had roles to play, and we focused a lot on executing our roles and just making sure that we're doing the best that we can for the person beside us.
You're usually in a position of defense, so corner kicks are your opportunity to score. How did it feel to get that one today?
It was awesome. All the hard work from everyone else on the team just really made it an easy opportunity for me to just ping in there, so I'm just happy that it happened.
The win marks the 11th time in the past 12 meetings the Jennies have beaten Southwest Baptist. I'm Sabra Hepner, reporting for Sportspage.
And you take a look there at the final score, number 10 ranked Central Missouri 2, Southwest Baptist 0. You take a commanding commanding lead now in the MIAA standings after that win. What does this tell about your team at this point in the season? They're still on top of their game.
Yeah, we're hitting the back half here of our conference schedule. You couldn't ask to be in a better position, but it can all change in one weekend. So, it's really about just staying focused and staying in the process. There's still things we need to do to get better, and let the results come, but we have to stay focused and execute our game plan each time out. So the worst thing can happen right now is we take a deep breath and relax. We need to keep pushing forward.
Seems like you have a good game plan defensively. Anna Dilks, your true freshman goaltender, still undefeated on the season. Just talk about her performance and how much she has grown just this season.
Yeah, she's, we knew she was good when we recruited her, and we knew she was going to really help us right away. And, she's just gives us a lot of confidence. Like, we take a few more risks because we have her in goal, and they've paid off. But, yeah, she gives us a lot of confidence, and I think our back line is able to feel really secure because if they do make a mistake, they've got someone very good behind them that can bail them out. So, she's probably the best goalkeeper we've had here, and hopefully she will keep getting better and better and give us a chance to win some championships.
Now, in these 2 straight games that you guys had this past week, you have 2 own goals from the defense. Just talk about how, as a coach, you see that and just how rare it is in soccer.
Yeah, I think the first one, Emily Franchette shot the ball and deflected in. I think that was a lucky break. But I think that came from when you put a lot of pressure on other teams, eventually something good's going to happen. It might be you creating something or the other team making a mistake. And then the one on Sunday against SBU was really a good opportunity for Hannah Pyle to show that she's getting across the defender, and they had to react, and that caused problems for them. If she doesn't make that run, they probably clear it no problem. So it's the little things that won that game for us, and them getting, knocking their own goal was really a result of what our players were doing and putting them under pressure. So I was really pleased for Hannah. That's her, that's the stuff that she does for us to win games.
All right, and looking ahead now, you get to go on the road and you face Central Oklahoma. Just talk about your matchup with the Broncos and how your team stacks up.
Well, I think when you looked at our schedule at the beginning of the year, us, SBU, and UCO were picked 1, 2, and 3. So we highlighted SBU, and this next game, UCO, those back-to-back is very difficult. And so we've got halfway home with those 2 games. And the UCO game, they haven't given up a goal in 6 games. So it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very tight, very close. And we just, we're going to have to go to their place where they're good, and they know they have to win. And so we're going to see a team with a lot of urgency, and we're just going to have to stick to what we do. But I think both teams play very similar style, so it's going to be tough.
And then coming up after that, you get to go to Northeastern State. Just talk about how, they're a little bit lower in the MIAA standings. This can't be a game, though, you can really overlook, though, especially this late in the season.
Well, I think it's like every other sport in the MIAA. Sometimes records can be deceiving because the games are close and they could go either way. So our kids need to know for sure that they can't overlook anybody or we're going to give one up. So we got to treat the game with a lot of respect. Soccer is also one of those games where you can shoot a lot and lose. So you got to, beat the game, too. So we're in a good spot, but it can all change. It's too early to start feeling like we've won something.
And keeping going with just how much, looking back on this entire run you've had this season, you're still 11-0-1. Is there something that you still need to work on or improve on your team from the beginning of the year to now toward the end of the season?
Well, I think that's the good thing about playing someone like SBU, who's a physical, strong team. They showed that we had a hard time executing our attacking game plan under that kind of pressure. So that's something we need to be able to do and address and watch the video. And that's going to be a process for the rest of the year, because if we're going to win some championships and go to tournaments and things of that nature, we have to be able to execute against those types of teams. So every time we play, we're hoping that team will expose something that we need to work on, and it's been working so far, and we just go back to work during the week, and then on the weekend show that we've made some improvement.
And you still have a couple injuries on your roster right now. Just kind of give us an update on what you know about these injuries, and just telling when you see these players coming back on the field.
I think we'll get, kind of as we lose one, we get one back. So, it's just kind of right now it's just kind of a revolving door of players, and that's okay. We're just slotting people in, and the next person up gets the job done. And but I can't wait to get everybody who we have on our roster healthy and ready to go. I just give us a little more depth and a little more options in terms of how we're going to attack and defend teams. So, we're close. We're not far away from getting everybody, but it's just time. But everybody, I think at this point, everybody has injuries, so there's no excuses. We just got to get it done.
All righty, Coach, and thank you again for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And coming up after the break, we spotlight Coach Theobald's junior forward, Julie Ireland. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Sports Page. After only starting 2 games last season, Julie Ireland led the Jennies soccer team with 11 goals. Let's take a look closer at the Lake St. Louis, Missouri native.
I started playing soccer when I was 5 for my grade school, just for fun. I started playing competitively in 3rd grade. I was kind of like recruited by a select coach who had seen me play, so he asked me to come. And I got started just by playing, just something to do after school. I wasn't really into ballerina or dancing, or wasn't very good at it, so I was like, okay, we'll try soccer, see what happens, and it just took off. When I started looking at colleges, I decided to come to UCM because my coach asked me to come down on an official visit, and so the first time I'd met him in person was here on campus, and he was very nice. He answered all my questions. He made me feel like a part of the school before I was even here. He showed me around campus. I loved the campus. I loved how UCM is very athletic oriented, and how they care about the athletes, and how there's so many athletes here, and how we're a good D2 school. I get to the locker room probably like 45-30 minutes before practice, just so I have time to change into my practice gear, hang out with the team, just to kind of get focused for practice. And if I need to go and see the trainer, get an ankle taped or something, I have time for that. And then Lewis comes in and talks to us about what we're going to do that day, so we know what to be prepared for. And so depending on what he comes in and says depends on how I prepare. If it's more of offensive day, then I really need to stay in and be focused and be ready to work 100%. I get to the locker room 2 hours before a game, and that just gives me time to focus and prepare for what I need to do for the game. I need to be ready to play on my edge and to work as hard as I can for that 90 minutes. So I get to the locker room, I change, I see the trainer, and then we just dance around the locker room, get pumped, get focused as a team, and just being there early with the whole team really gets us closer together as a team, which is easier because then we play for each other and we play harder for each other when we're on the field. We have really good chemistry on our team. I think it's because we have such a small team that it's easy for us to get close and to not be so cliquey like some other teams could be. I could talk to anyone about anything on my team. I feel like they could do the same. I look up to the freshmen, even though they are freshmen and there's a lot of them. I expect just as much out of them as they should expect out of me. And I think since we hold each other to that high standard, it brings us closer together. I try and stay positive and stay focused, and if I do mess up, then I like work on it later, think about it later when I'm off the field and away from everyone, because a lot of the girls do look up to me as a leader, so I feel like I need to stay positive for them and keep my head up for them and show good body language, just so that they can feed off of that and they can stay positive if they mess up or if they're not having their best game or best day of practice. Then they see that you just have to keep trying hard and working hard to stay positive about it. I think me and Lewis have a really good relationship. He knows how to get the best out of me, or how I can perform my best. And we also like can be close on a personal level. He knows he knows a lot that goes on in my life, and I know a lot that goes on his. If he feels we've been together for 3 years now, and he's very open and honest with all of us, and I could go to him for anything if I really needed to. I know he's there for me. As a team, he really wants us to make it past the Sweet 16. And as a team, we all want to do that. We want to make it all the way. We want to make it to the Final Four. We want to be the first of his team to win a national championship. I think that's every team's dream here at UCM, is to win a national championship. And he just brings the best out of all of us, and he has set practices and what we're supposed to do and what we need to get accomplished. And if we're not getting things accomplished during practice, he tells us that we need to regroup and get focused so that we can accomplish those things during practice, so we have a better chance of making it into the Elite Eight and Final Four.
So far this season, Ireland has started 7 games and has scored 4 goals. With her efforts, the Jennies are currently 11-0-1 on the season. Coming up after the break, we'll break down all of the upcoming games for the Mules and Jennies. You're watching the Central Missouri Sports Page here on KMOS-TV, Missouri PBS.
Welcome back to Sports Page here on KMOS-TV, Missouri PBS. It's going to be a busy week here for Central Missouri Athletics, but we've got a rundown of the schedule so you can make it to as many games as possible. Starting with football, the Mules play host to Central Oklahoma Saturday at 1:30 p.m. That's this year's homecoming game, so the stands are sure to be filled with current and former UCM students and supporters. Should be a great home crowd. The Mules are currently 4-2 on the season and tied for 4th place in the MIAA standings.
Jennies soccer has 2 games on the road after being at home the past 2 weekends. Friday, October 17th, it's the Jennies versus Central Oklahoma at 4 p.m. And Sunday, October 19th, it's a matchup against Northeastern State at 1 o'clock. The Jennies are undisputed #1 in the MIAA standings. They are currently 11-0-1 on the season and ranked 9th in the nation.
Volleyball also has 2 games coming up this week. 1 at home and then 1 on the road. October 17th, it's a face-off with Southwest Baptist, and October 18th, it's Pittsburgh State. The Jennies are currently 11-7 on the season, 8-2 in the MIAA, and they are tied for 2nd in the league standings.
Bowling has their 2nd match of the season coming up. The team will travel to Miamisburg, Ohio for the Orange and Black Invitational October 18th through October 19th. Good luck, Jennies.
Let's talk about a little bit of the sports here, Jason, and you look at some big things that have happened, that have been announced this week. One of those things, the nationally televised game against Northeastern State for this basketball team, 10 a.m. tip on December 20th. Mules last year were 30-5, and I was at the national championship game where they won, and Coach Anderson went to Mizzou. Good luck to him and congratulations. Now we've got Adun Carlskin here, and really excited to have this basketball team coming up and getting this kind of attention that I feel like they deserve after they were on a drought for 30 years.
Well, and again, you just mentioned it there. It's a 30-year drought. For this team, and another good publicity thing. Not only do they have the national game on CBS Sports Network coming up, but also they get to go to Cameron Indoor Stadium, one of the meccas of college basketball, and play at the University of Duke on the road. That'll be a good showcase for this Mules squad. And again, good success for Coach Anderson there at Mizzou. But we've got a national title to defend here at Central Missouri.
On that they do. And that Duke game is November 8th at Duke, so that's going to be exciting to see. Jason, what else do you got for us about well, my golfer of the week here.
Well, Travis Mays, MIAA Golfer of the Week, shot a pair of 73s at the Missouri Western Classic in St. Joe this past week. Currently, right now, he is MIAA leading in season point standings. He was also MIAA Golfer of the Year last year for the conference, so he's picking up right where he left off last season as well.
Well, and that is. And let's talk about Malachi Amandria, Offensive Player of the Week, the game winner versus Missouri Southern. This team has played so well, and they always play well. And like you talked with Coach Theobald, they just continue to win.
Well, Michaela Modiri, yeah, she had 2 goals in the final halftime. In halftime of their game against Missouri Southern, down 1-0 at halftime going in. Come out and they score an own goal first. Michaela Modiri adds 1, and then she adds the 4th goal in the end. This team is just. I had Lewis Theobald on earlier. Head coach of the Jennies. They keep on finding ways to win. It's just like the Kansas City Royals. They keep on finding ways to win, and they just keep going through this MIAA schedule and just completely, setting the pace of what the leader in the MIAA conference should be.
Well, setting the pace that they do on that. And really, last but not least, another thing I want to spotlight here is bowling 3rd place in total pins at that Newman Mid-State Invitational. Jordan Richard led with averaging 190 points. And this bowling team historically has been really good. And I think they're going to continue to be good going into this season. Obviously, they got a big bowling gig coming up soon. So I'm excited to see how well they do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, 2009 national champions. Now they're coming back, still strong as usual. Should be a great year for Jennies bowling.
Oh, and I'm excited, Jason. We're really glad to do this show with you. And that's your Central Missouri Sports Report for the week. We'll wrap up this edition of the UCM Sports Page, and make sure to tune in next week. Until then, for our entire crew here at KMOS-TV, I'm Alex Greenlee.
And I'm Jason Ketz. Thanks for watching the UCM Sports Page here on KMOS-TV, Missouri PBS.
Support for Sportspage is provided by Union Station, Crossroads to Technology, a one-stop shopping source for technology needs, campus-compatible computers, software for Mac and PCs, and much more. Located on campus on the lower floor of the Elliott Union in Warrensburg. Union Station, Crossroads to Technology. And promotional support for Sportspage is provided by 1450 KOKO and 98.5 The Bar. 1450 KOKO and 98.5 The Bar, the radio home of University of Central Missouri Athletics.